All right, so just hit record here, so we're getting going. So today's training, this past weekend we went down to Cincinnati. There was a couple of us that went down there, and I heard from a number of speakers. It was a very nice, diverse group of people. Some that I've never heard of before, some people, and then some people I've heard talk a few times now. And I know for me personally, whenever I go to a big event, there's always a couple tangible takeaways that I have for my business and wanted to hear from a couple of the newer guys, and then there's some other folks that aren't going to be on the call here today that we can have them maybe share on our Facebook page. But for those of you that are those of you that are new, or if you listen to this in the future, when you go to a big event, there's a lot of emotions that take place. There's a lot of feelings that happen, and kind of your mindset coming out of it can be a couple of different things, and most often we revert to, okay, we need to change completely everything. Let's scratch everything and start brand new. And it's just not helpful. And, for those of you that were able to listen to Tyson's talk, he actually mentioned that is a lot of people will just constantly pivot completely to different things in their business. And that's not what you want to do. So, for those of you that took a lot of notes, there's a lot to cover and there's a lot that was talked about. What is maybe one, two, or even maybe three things that you could tangibly take away and say, hey, this is something that can help me. This keeps me structured. This keeps me, kind of focused on what my goal and my why is here, and how to go and proceed forward. So, between the two of you newer guys here, I'd love to, whichever one would want to go first. What were some of the things that maybe on a higher level overview that you thought was interesting, and then maybe a couple of those tangible things that you found were kind of useful?
I'll go here.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely thought that just hearing a bunch of people who are successful, that they started just like where I am. They've had days when you get no calls, no answers. People just say no in your face, and just it for me especially, it's hard to um, or move that part of my brain. It's like, well, I'm not getting anything. It's just killing my momentum and all that kind of stuff. But you just have to keep driving and keep doing the stuff. Um, and then just that, let's see, like just you need to set time to do it. And that was one of the things that my wife and I talked about really is like I'm trying to find balance between work and home, between my day job, doing this, and then having a life with my kids and stuff too. But we just need to, in order for me to have this, I just need to have time to still do some stuff. So some weekend times, I'm going to be making time for myself to make more calls, doing some postings to get people out there that I don't necessarily have contact info for all the time. But maybe they see it, a video or something like that, or I make a post about it, and then they get questions, and then I can answer them for there. So that's one thing that I wanted to do.
Okay. I
Um,
like it. So yeah, I think, just on the stuff that you've said so far, if you wanted to share more, but I think for me, when I was in your shoes, the toughest part was the first few months, and like getting that first client and kind of getting into that proof that it works, and proof that, then you get a paycheck and you're like, okay, like this is real. I'm hearing all these people making money. I'm on these weekly calls, but why am I not having that success? And it just takes time. And then I feel like you get that first client, and you get that first paycheck, and then it makes a little more sense. And you're like, okay, well, whatever I just did there, I keep doing that again. Will I still get results? If it's a yes, then let's just keep doing that. So, yeah, was there anything else you wanted to share?
um, Particularly, I forget the guy's name. He was the guy who did the story about going to Maine or he was in the shoe shine guy, whatever he's saying. But for the first however many years of his business, he just had his life license and he did all that with just his life insurance stuff. So he can do a lot with a little. Granted, you can do a lot more with getting these other things, but it helps. Like the thing that I have is I can't help these people as much, but in my own mind, like, because I'm not going to be the person doing it for them, so I can't sell it as much. But I have to get into the idea that somebody else can help them. Um, but we can still offer, you can still, even without the 65 and 63, you can still do a lot. So I have to get in the same, like, yeah, I still have confidence. I can still do this. I can still help you, even if it's not going to be with me doing the things that I'm able to right now, which will eventually change. Um, but it's just a confidence issue
Yep.
with,
Okay.
with that.
Yeah. So, that's super valuable. The next phase of our business, and once we get this office opened up and kind of what we want the next chapter to look like is really leaning into, and this is, for us that, kind of been around here for a few years, is what does it really mean to be part of a team? What does it really mean to be part of a crusade and mission and have that be the primary focus? So, you hit a natural roadblock for a lot of people. Hey, I don't have this license, so let me not serve this person until I get that license. And that is an immediate, like, self-centered focus. That's not a negative thing of you. We all have that. But I think when you come into the business here, you need to be reminded that the goal of what we're doing is to serve the client first. And so let's just say in your case, hey, I don't have that 65, so I can't take a managed account. Um, you know, having someone on our team manage that in the short term is helping the client out. So maybe you lose out on the short term pay, but on the long term, you're getting that client served and it's a happy person. Like that's what's most important. And
Yeah.
what we do differently and what you might have heard while we were down there, Guillermo Malord, he said that it took him, 18 months or whatever it was to get his life insurance license, and he lost out on 33 clients. In that scenario, like those clients, to my understanding, are not his clients anymore. Like he did miss out on that, or at the very least, those life insurance sales. Like this is something different. You get a recurring client, it moves over to you when you pass that test. And so I think a lot of us get so kind of locked in on what do I get from this when we wanted to join and be part of this team because we wanted to give to others. And so it's tough to like catch yourself on that, but also be reminded of like what's most important. So yeah, being part of a team is going to be the road ahead.
Hey, Alec, can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm on my car audio here. Hey, I want to jump right in on something. I totally second everything Alec just said. And Brian, I really appreciate you sharing exactly what you did because I think you're describing what everybody feels when they first get started here, including me. I felt all those same things. Trust me on that. But I want to make three points that I think would be valuable to all you guys. Number one, by definition, unless, I mean, in my example, I suppose I started as a college student, but virtually everybody starts with us from some sort of occupation that they're currently doing, right? They're working, they're paying bills, they have that rhythm of life. And I think the trap that we can all fall into if we're not aware of it, is you start to look at this as like, okay, this is going to be my new occupation. And so we put that lens on and we think about, I need to make money here. I need to get clients so I can make money. And the more money I make helps me be full time. And while that's technically true, I think what we got to have is more of a mission focus and more of like a marketing focus. Like if we set a goal of Ryan, let's just say we want you to be full time a year from now. Let's just make that your goal hypothetically. The quickest path isn't going to be a couple commissions on life insurance cases in the next 30 days. It's going to be building a massive campaign of awareness in your marketplace and get the referral engine working. I mean, I completely second what Alex said about Guillermo's story there. And really get good at messaging what we do. And if you make that your focus, and if contacting is more of a process than an event, then all of a sudden, hey, I had 3 people cancel. Well, that's just, I mean, big deal. Like that's, maybe next week you have all 3 people say yes or more. That stuff's going to average out over time. It's kind of like an average hitting ratio over a baseball season, not on like I've had a couple bad game, like, hitless streak kind of thing. And you can get in a negative tunnel. All of us can real quick if you focus on short-term results. But if we're mission focused, and you say, you know what, if I contacted 300 people in the next 6 months, I just made that up. I don't, I'd have to sit down and map this out. But let's just say you and Chelsea sat down and said, you know what if we could contact 300 people? What would that look like? I mean, you might not even know all 300 right now, frankly. But we just need to start on that mission and keep track of it. And maybe you get through 100 people that but you start getting some referrals, you start meeting some new people, some things start happening. And before and then all of a sudden your confidence grows a little bit. And then what can happen is, you'll start identifying people as you go. And and you'll become, your ears will work differently. You'll pick up on side conversations more. So we could flesh that out a little bit more, but that's the first point I wanted to make. Picking up that real quick. The second thing I would say is you guys, I mean, I was hearing on like a newscast, like, I don't know, yesterday or today or something, it's election day. And the stat was said that 65% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, which I think is probably broadly true. I mean, it's a bit subjective and all that, but I think that's probably pretty accurate. The top end of our economy is doing really well. They have money in the market, and housing prices are growing. And if you own a house and you have a stock portfolio, you've never done better. But major chunks of our economy are not participants in those two categories. And so let's just label that financial cancer. On top of that, people have no education and they have no other resource. Where are they going to get this information? And so I'm going to hop in my house here in a second, then I can get on video. Where are they going to get this information? Like, we literally have the cure to financial cancer. And if we approach this whole prospecting process as, I have the ability to introduce people to literally the difference maker in their life. And that difference maker can be our information. It can be our process. It can be your field trainer while you're getting started. It doesn't have to be you. In fact, it likely won't be for at least 3 to 6 months as you get started here, because you're not in a position, nobody getting started here is in a position to really be dispensing advice in their first 3 to 6 months. But if we have that employment mentality of like, I need to become an expert, I need to make money, I need to be the advisor, I need to, that's just really, I think, counterproductive to what we're trying to do. So any thoughts on that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to switch audio here. So if you guys can keep rolling, I'm gonna join you here in a minute.
Ryan, was there anything else you wanted to share? Was there any like specific speakers that stood out to you?
I mean, obviously Tyson's was great, very impactful, being as though I'm the reason, or he's the reason why I'm here. And just seeing his story and stuff like that, I can relate a little bit to that. And then just, I mean, I really liked also the final speaker as well too, being that he came from nothing, like as a son of a lobster fisherman or whatever, sea creature, and he's now backstage or in the back room with the Queen's Guard in England and doing all these crazy things. Like, oh yeah, I can rent out the Statue of Liberty for things. Like, it can be very inspiring for the true, just like nothing to rags to riches kind of story there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I really liked that. Tyson, that is a beautiful view.
Where's the camera on this thing? Can you guys see me?
Yeah, the very top.
That's funny. I'll prop my phone here in a certain direction.
Yeah. So there's like two motivating factors in life, and one is to avoid pain and one is to gain pleasure. I've heard that from a podcast, and I feel like the first portion of my career here was the avoiding pain. Like, I hope I make money just so that I'm not broke anymore. And I feel like earlier this year, and then especially on Saturday, I feel like I'm leaning way more on the seeking pleasure side, and where this business is getting a little more natural for me. I feel like I'm really starting to hit a groove in my business, and seeing the trips and getting to do those things really made me motivated. Now that I have a fiance, this was actually my first big event that I've had a significant other. And in general, she wasn't there, but in general, and so it was nice to like see those pictures and think, man, like, what would it be like to take Caitlin and my future kids? Like, I want to go and work, to go and do things like that is super motivating. And maybe we don't get to go and see the Queen's Guard, but it's you get to go up to Maine, or how we took the trip to Alaska. Like, I think those things are fun, and it's very well within reach. Yeah. Um, Don, what about you?
So for me, can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
For me, I would say it definitely gave me an idea of what this business can be. Like I've kind of heard from the people on this team on what their vision is and how they want it to move, but kind of seeing how other people's have made it their own and how it's not really too limited. Like you can apply the skills you naturally have to growth and leadership to make a team as well. And uh, I feel like there was a good mix of technical proficiency and people who kind of figured out how to make the system work better, and then some people who had the mindset of building a team to make it grow faster. And it was encouraging to see that there's no one way to achieve success here.
Yeah. Um, yeah, anything else, or was there anyone?
Like the just the business in general, like did you feel like you kind of understand the big picture a little bit more?
Yeah, I feel like I understand a lot more um, about like how the business interacts and how your time in the company works, kind of lateral limits a little bit better. Some of the concepts that like I've seen through the studying for the test, um, uh, that was nice to hear from the like the company representatives. I was kind of able to put a little bit more of the product to what I'm learning and kind of understand that. So that was nice to hear. Um, I mean, I like the vision from pretty much team. All the teams seem like they have really good vision plans that sound like they're going to do great in the coming years. So I'm glad to be a part of it.
So what are maybe for Ryan and for Don, like what do you feel like you need to be doing like this week and next week that might be a different mentality than you had last week or the week before based on what you gathered at this event?
I would say for me, it kind of just affirmed that what I thought this business model had and could provide is true. Like I filled in some of the missing links that were in my brain and questions I still had. So I mean, I think it is completely possible to, as you're reaching out, trying to help people, educate them, but also if we all believe that this truly is, the best thing since sliced bread, why aren't we trying to bring everybody on our team and let them enjoy that and let them see if it's for them as well.
Totally. Love that. Anything from you, Ryan?
Um, really just it's a understanding, and like Alex said before, is like every time you have an event like this, there's a lot of emotion. I think it's like a rekindling of a fire in everyone, and I think that having this emotion and seeing what can be, again, just helps just with the overall confidence that you have when you are talking to people for that, and just like and just allowing it to then brush off your shoulder. If they don't, then it's their loss. They don't need it. Then if they want to come back at some point, then we'll be there waiting for them. But all we can do is try and spread the message, and as long as we believe in it, and it clearly has success, we can accomplish the mission of helping all these people have that financial freedom that they want.
One thing I didn't ask you, Ryan, is what did it do for Chelsea? Did that change her perspective in any way on this business, your role in it, what it could be, anything along those lines?
I definitely think she understands a little bit more as to how to be an advocate, not necessarily what I'm doing. She was still asking a bunch of questions about like certain things she didn't understand, which is understandable, but just like how to be more of a on the refer side. It's like, hey, people that she has a whole other market there, outside of where I am, that she can then push people my way, and she can feel comfortable in saying, yeah, this is what my husband does, and he helps people and can possibly help you. So I think she really got into the referral mindset more and helping
Did
out.
it in terms of her just belief and seeing this as like part of your future and anything along those lines?
Yeah, I definitely think that she thought, I was like, oh wow, like this can this could be a thing for us. And while I'm still thinking that as well, but I'm more moving towards the whole mission focus thing, because as you said before, like the mission comes first, other stuff will come later. And I think she's still on the upswing of it. I've hit my inflection point as to, you got to get over that. It's all about me, me, me. No, it's about them, them, them. And then the focus can shift as opposed to an XY
Yes.
axis, the Z axis can then be our focus out.
So if we compare what we're doing to, let's say, the industry, I mean, Savage and Associates, Northwestern Mutual, New York Life, you name it, like all these companies that are onboarding kids out of college or career changers, Edward Jones, trying to get them, in transition into our industry, right? Our whole industry is trying to grow and expand. We're not the only ones trying to do that. But the challenge becomes, let's just say, Ryan, you join Savage and Associates, like they're going to take you through an exercise that'll feel similar to what you're doing with us, a list of everybody you know. They're going to give you a script that you're going to use. But you're basically, hey, this is Ryan with Savage and Associates. And before you could even like get that sentence completed, like everybody already knows like why you're calling, okay, you're obviously trying to solicit for business, you're trying to get a meeting, you're trying to get me in front of your guy. Like everybody already knows that. You don't really have an opportunity to position yourself to intrigue anybody. That's one of the biggest differences we have here. And I think I want to get our trainings the next few weeks, although we'll be off next week because we got TFA Exchange. But coming off of Exchange, I want to start getting back into like the uniquenesses of what we do. I talked about a little bit about this on a business structure standpoint in my talk about how you can scale here like you can anywhere else. But the other big differentiator we have to the industry is the marketing tools of WealthWave and the ability to, especially for a new person, to really have that level of intrigue work as a leverage tool to start a conversation. And if you can get real focused for both you and Don, but this goes for everybody on, understanding the tools better. And of course, we can coach you one-on-one on those. It doesn't have to be just wait until a Tuesday. But there's a bajillion tools on WealthWave's website on, books and videos you can text to people and, different things, different collateral things. Obviously you have a website you can direct to people, a ton of content on there with videos. So you can have all those things to try to create. So if you approach this of like, hey, I'm joining a company that has a mission of teaching people how money works, how to ultimately become completely financially independent. I've learned a couple things in the last, 30 days that frankly is more than I've learned in a lifetime of, what the world has taught me about money. And it's already made a huge impact on my life, a huge impact on my family's life, however you want to phrase that. And I'd love to share with you a couple of those concepts. It's just a totally different approach. And hey, I'm starting in the financial services industry, and I'd love to get 20 minutes of your time to talk to you about how amazing our investments are. Because whether you say that or not, that's what people hear. And so much of the business is just first contact and real that opportunity to intrigue somebody. And one of the reasons I think people might be rescheduling on you is because perhaps that prospecting contact just maybe wasn't done quite with the right perspective or the right level of energy. And so I strongly recommend for anybody that's training, so I know Alec has been helping you, Ryan, with some contacts or kind of is in that position. Get Alec involved in that contact because that might be your only chance to make that first impression with somebody. Because if we don't get to the step where you have Alec on a Zoom call or in a meeting face to face with your prospect to really explain what we do, if that opportunity never happens, it doesn't matter how amazing Alec is or our presentation is or our strategies if we never get to that point. So consider having your trainer involved at that point of contact, so they can either ensure the result gets done or provide immediate, if maybe you're the one that's making the call but he's listening in the background or something, he can provide some immediate feedback. Hey, next time do this instead of that. Before you call 10 people and then, well, I don't know, I call 10 people, none of them want to come in, I don't know what to do. Maybe this doesn't work for me, right? Maybe I just don't know the right people. I mean, we can go down that hole real quick if we don't have that trainer involved in that point of contact. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Don, were you going to add something?
No, I mean, I would say that's what we did when I made like my first round of calls. You know, Alec was on the call. He listened to every one of my calls, and at the end of the calls, even the ones that he said I did okay, you know, he still was able to add value. He was able to say, "Hey, okay, you know, that sounded really good. That was natural," or "Hey, adjust this a little bit." And, you know, that was really helpful.
Yeah, and just to tie in something that Don, you said a bit ago about giving other people an opportunity. That's the other thing we're going to transition to is it's time to scale our team. It's time to message that to more people, give more people an opportunity. And we just have to know we're going to work through people, right? Some people are going to be interested and then they don't follow through. Some people are going to join us for 3 weeks and then quit. That's the nature of life, right? We're gonna end up with a lot more clients than we do teammates, because becoming a teammate is just a bigger commitment, right? It's a higher interest level, it's time, it's it's a lifestyle change, it's all those things. And so not everybody has a level of dissatisfaction and the willingness to do something about that dissatisfaction to join our business and stay with it. But the process of mining through people and filtering through people will open up a ton of doors for you. So back to this idea of, if the goal is to contact 300 people, and if your first thought is, I don't know 300 people, or I mean, I might be digging down to people that like I haven't talked to in 15 years and who knows, then just understand that, like, if you do this right and you start getting a couple people on board and they bring a list to the table or they give you some different referrals, it's a bigger net, and more offshoots will come from that, more referrals, more introductions, more opportunities. And if you just have an abundance mentality of, I'm just going to focus on exposing people to our mission, and I'm just going to see where all these paths lie. There's a great Steve Jobs quote. He talks about, you can never understand life moving forward, you can only understand it in reverse. And then kind of he has a second line where he talks about or life can only be understood in reverse. But then he talks about, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can't meet somebody tomorrow and think about, how is this person going to A, be in my life at all, or have some meaningful role, or be the guy that introduces me to somebody that is a huge new thing for me. I mean, we all think back to when we met our spouse or all those things, right? That, might have been a happenstance meeting at one point in time. And so I look back at my business, and I mean, virtually all of my biggest clients, and in fact, I would tell you all of my clients, frankly, are people I did not know when I started here. I mean, I probably have, in all seriousness, 8 to 10 clients that I knew in life in any capacity the day I joined our company. Wrap your mind around that. Like literally 99.8% of my business is built on people that I met after I joined this. And so that's why it's more of a process than it is, who do I know? That's why this guy knows a ton of people, let's get him on board, is totally overrated. As is, well, I just moved here. I don't have a big family. I don't have a lot of friends. Like, that's underrated, right? You know, guys, it almost doesn't matter who you know, how big or how small. It matters about what your mentality is. Because if it's true that 2 out of every 3 people walking around us are living paycheck to paycheck, that's a huge recruiting opportunity, and it's a huge client opportunity. And so, man, there's prospects everywhere. We sit by them in baseball games. We walk right past them in the grocery. We shake their hand at church on our way in and out. We breeze by them coming and going to pick up our kids. Sometimes we just need to slow down a little bit and pay attention and strike up a conversation, or just ask one additional question. Or, I can't tell you how many times I've been intentional about, like, what, I'm at a store doing something, and I just, I'm like, what, I just need to, like, ask this guy a question or two. And we can talk a lot more about that in the future. But that's a big mentality shift I want to help be involved with over the next kind of couple weeks as we get into the opening of this office and launch a whole new era for this team. And I'm counting on you guys to be each of you major, factors and leaders in that new era. But we just have to be messaging what we do to a whole lot more people. And I think that starts with our mentalities of how big are we thinking, right? Are we just plotting along, call here, a call there? I did an account, I talked to one person, or are we on a mission to go do something big? And I think that's the spirit I walked away from that meeting with is, I need to get refocused on some things. And although I've checked a lot of boxes in my life, the biggest box that never gets fully checked is how many other people are you helping to check their boxes? Because that's where all the fulfillment, that's where all the significance, all the memories. I mean, Lee and I could make a couple calls and I could probably find an Alaskan cruise, like, I don't know, in 48 hours. I could get myself to Alaska on a ship. Me and Leah could just go, right? But it was way more fun with the rest of you guys, you know? And so like that's the game I'm playing. Is I want to help you guys check boxes because I've checked them all, right? I'm not building a second house. I can only drive one car. You guys get the drift, right? So like that's the game I'm playing. That's where my motives are. And I've been kind of saddled here a little bit with getting this office going, and I got some stuff to get ready for the Vegas event next week. But I'm here, and I believe very strongly in overlapping leadership, right? And so Alec couldn't have a higher endorsement from me in terms of his ability to contact people and get results on that front end. I frankly think he is as skilled, if not more skilled, than I am at that aspect of the business. I'm here to come in and I think my skill is bigger in overall strategy, running events, running, client field training cases, you name it. And so much more to come. So I can hop in where needed on contacting or doing first visits. But I think ultimately, yes, this is kind of my vision of what we want to do is everybody picks up a little bit more weight, and collectively, we move the ball forward a lot. And so maybe give that some thought. That's all I have for today, unless Alec, you have anything else. But we're, obviously off next Tuesday. We're going to be in Vegas in the meeting during this time. But we'll pick it up in 2 weeks, and we'll have, I'm sure, some fun updates to share, and ready to get after it and finish the year strong.
I don't have anything else directly. I think we talked about Saturday, and I think we all have things that we can do moving forward here.
All right. Anybody else? Anything for the good of the order? Awesome. All right. Well, appreciate you all. We'll be talking soon.